zone, I guess some people would refer to it as. What does that mean for you?
I think you worded it well the other night. What was that?
I described it as vibrating on a higher frequency. For most people, they're in their heads, they're thinking, they're judging those concepts as whether things are bad, good situation, bad situation. I think when I say it on a different frequency, you're not doing that. It's just is. You're in the moment, you're present. I think that's the most powerful thing. And people sense that and they feel that, and it's hard for. And this girl, she's constantly trying to give you a hard time, as it were. We could call it a shit time.
You've got a hard time.
Yeah, but you're not going against it. You're flowing with it. You hear that a lot where people say, just have fun. You're generally having fun, generally. And it was a constant flow, just energy. And I said to a girl that I was with at the time, where does he get his energy from? And she just said, I don't know, it's good, isn't it?
And the lowest is the best one for us.
It wasn't like you were forcing it. It just was you're in a state.
Well, I do believe I am having fun all the time. You know, I don't do it for an ulterior motive. I mean, what comes of having fun, especially when you're in that state?
Hi, this is Roger.
Sexual pleasures, I suppose, and good social feedback, like from whoever you're interacting with.
What I saw that night was you sort of had the answer for every situation. You know, we weren't in that moment, every moment, just a long string of moments. There was always some.
It was a long night.
What happened? You know, we took 2 guns. We took 3 home.
So there was my LTR, long-term relationship, but yeah, she winged with me, and not that she was in much use that night. All she could do is sit in awe. No, all she could do is sit and talk to other girls while I talk to other girls. But anyway, you were always presume a threesome.
We wanted to have a laugh, and we did. You know, it was just a case of just seeing where we'd go with it. But there was always obstacles.
It was actually the cockiest one that came home, wasn't it?
Yeah. They gave you a hard time. The girl was very relentless, and she'd obviously been in that situation a lot of times. She knew exactly how to get rid of this guy that was speaking to her. You know, he's there in her face, and she loved it. She's having fun as well. She's giving it back. It's going backwards and forwards, and she probably never had a guy actually win. Get to a point where she just goes, "Oh, sorry, there, no, you're right. There you go." Happily, as it were. You didn't have to justify yourself at all. You didn't justify yourself. You didn't explain yourself. Your reality was eventually her reality. She was always buying into your reality. For example, where are your friends? So I haven't got anything. It's just you're going with her. It's what she wants to hear in a weird way.
Well, she wants to be dominated.
Yeah.
She's 90% what you do. Never 10% you wouldn't want to be.
You'd always give something back. You'd always give something for her to pick up. And like you take a little bit and then bang, back. We had a night out recently, and I've seen it in you a few times when you're in a motion.
Just a few.
It's like a feeling of being in the zone. Is that how you describe it?
Yes and no. Yes and no. But yeah, go on. Some may.
What is it you're doing to get yourself into that position? Where you're in a position where you can be completely not inside your head. We hear that a lot now. I'm in my head, I can't speak to her. The inner dialogue. What is it you're doing?
One thing I like to do is get the ball rolling. A good way to that is maybe start off with a little opener. And I'm vibing. I'm just in there then, because as soon as they start talking to me, many things are going on in my mind. I'm listening to the sound of their voice, I'm feeling their aura, but I'm feeling their presence, I'm feeling how they're looking at me. I'm not observing it consciously, I'm observing it subconsciously. But I did used to do it consciously, but I've done it so much now, and anyone can do it. If you do it so much, it actually becomes part of life, comes subconscious. know you are doing it. It just flows. Just like, and I'm taking it in a good way. I never judge anyone in a bad way unless they're totally evil. You know, like I'm liking whatever, even if they're being bitchy or horrible or whatever. I'm taking it in a nice way, and I'm playing with it. That's probably what it is. I'm playing with it. I'm playing with whatever they give me. I'm playing with it. Yeah. I don't want to give myself a bad feeling on it if they're not interested or they're giving me a hard time. I lose twice that way. Once when they say it, and another time when they go back and dwell on it. Oh, little violin. Fuck that shit. I want to have fun. I want to vibe. I laugh with people.
Is that what you mean by vibe?
Yeah, I suppose that is a bit of vibe.
It's just giving, it's just playing back whatever they give you.
Then, whoa, magic. Then you get to a higher plane of vibing, which I love that term you come up with the vibrating on a different frequency. Yeah. Because I feel that I go beyond vibing. I go beyond that. Yeah. I'm literally just. It's like I'm not controlling what it's just coming out.
What I observed in you was you were like an energy going around the room. And then people that came in contact with the energy were also like
in the energy.
Whatever.
I do feel they get caught up in it.
Yeah. Like a fire. I've had a quote somewhere, you can light a million candles from one candle.
Yeah.
And it's like that. The energy is being spread. And vibrating energy. You're on a frequency.
I love a bit of vibrating.
They're coming into you and it's being transmitted.
And I do find that they'll merge naturally. They don't have choice. It's not like I'm going to merge this set to this set. They merge naturally because they're just drawn in with it, and they just end up following you. Like they don't mean to. They don't do it consciously. Yeah. I don't do it consciously. Yeah. They just are drawn in, and they're just all of a sudden they're part of the group. They're part of the group. I remember that night. The Oriental girls. They were quite timid, but by the end they were really hi. And then you had like the bar girls, women bar girls. One of them was a lesbian, but she already asked me for a date. And then you had the two that you were talking to at the end. I came over and you had a really bitchy one, but then we overcome that and made friends. They come back with us. By that time we had that whole team. Right, there were two there. We had the two there. We had the three there, and we had my LTR there, and us two. And
the thing to point out is this wasn't a nightclub. It's just this quiet bar.
This was a quiet, like a Young's old man pub.
Old man pub.
That was a funny thing about it.
It had just been taken over by.
It wasn't the Jewel Bar, Piccadilly.
Tiger.
It was
where you can
quiet night. What night
see
was
the
it?
girl again.
What night was it?
I think it was a Tuesday night.
Even worse. To us it was Saturday. Every day is Saturday. There's a rhyme in Scandinavia, and it goes bear and die, mix island bar and bear and die. And it means Friday, why can't every day be Friday? And you got the restaurant, thank God it's Fridays. Yeah. Have that mentality. It can fucking be Friday every fucking time. It can be. It is. Friday now, for me. What day is it? Thursday. No, it's not. It's fucking Friday.
In 4 hours.
In 4 hours. Yeah. A good little way to build your state if you're someone like. But how? Well, how is you go and talk to people, but the other how is, and see people positively, everything positive. But the other how is, tell your mate a story that you found really funny and that you're really enthusiastic about, and then you get carried away with it. Have you ever told a story, you get carried away with it, you try and speak really fast and you get carried away and you get very energetic? That's me, that's like when I'm in state all the time, basically. It's like, so try and simulate that. Yeah. By telling a story that you're enthusiastic about, and then just keep that state and go off with it. If you try, it's in your head. We don't try, we do. I'm not scared of action, I'm scared of inaction. Yeah? So do it.
So in a clubbing, for example, practical, how things apply. You know, it's very well, we can get into the state, and there it happens. A lot of guys go out and do this every now and then. They're like, wow, you know, I went out and I was like, nothing to stop me, you know, I get numbers.
We all remember that time, don't we?
But how do you get back into that? every time. Every time.
Predominance. Every time is being positive every time. Being out your head every time. Talking to people every time. Going for it. Never letting yourself be lesser than you deserve to be. Always wanting to be happy. Be happy. Go out and be happy. Don't try and make yourself be happy. Go out happy. Go out and have life. Go out and have big smile. And people go, oh, it's easier said than done. No, it's not. You fucking do it. Shut up, mindlessly. Eat your little go and do it, and it will work. Trust me, it will work. You will love it. As long as you don't, if you, 1 second you think negatively, you fucked it. Yeah, you fucked it. Imagine living yourself, not. I say live your life for 3 weeks without a positive, without a negative thought in your mind. People can't even do that for 2 minutes. So try it for 1 day, just 1 day, and see how great that day is for you. Where does the ego live? In your mind. That's being in your mind, in your head, right? It doesn't live out. Now, our ego is our worst enemy. Is it not, right? So, we need to be where it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist here. Yeah. It exists here. We need to be where it isn't. Yeah. We can destroy it. It's never truly gone. Yeah. I've got an ego. Everyone's got one, but when you're in that zone, it's disappeared. There is no... An ego is the only person that ever has doubt and negativity. So when you're out of it, it doesn't exist, so you can always have that time. So be out of your head. What line do I use? What routine? I can give you that as a stabilizer. I can give you some awesome ones where you never actually need to actually be out of your head, but you will get better standard, better life, better pleasure by being out of your head. Definitely. And you don't have to go out with a worry of how's tonight going to be. Yeah, we turn up. I see it in old man's pub and we rocked.
We see these guys, they build up their night, they write down what they're going to do. They put a lot of expectation. They think it's just future projection, isn't it? They're projecting into the future an outcome they have to have, and if it doesn't happen, they're unhappy.
A pretty boy, being a pretty boy is only an opener. Yeah. A lot of girls go, I met a good-looking guy, and they're like, well, he didn't live up to his name, and that made him even worse. Do you know what I mean? Or they're like, he's a player. Do you know what I mean? You get to the stage where when you're in that, and you're vibing with so many people, and you're in a state with so many people, and you're vibrating on a different frequency, that if anyone does even attempt to snub you off, or block you out, or whatever they'll do, they will look stupid. Yeah. I don't believe in methods anyway. I can give you a structure. Yeah. I want to reframe your game. Yeah. I want to restart your game. You know, I want to make the best of you come out. I'm going to give you some training rules and my stuff on the way, but you can make it your own. You can so make it your own. There is a lot of crap out there these days, to be fair, but only because now there's a lot of businessmen getting involved. And I think a lot of the old principles, like there's a good saying, I love it. There's no school like the old school. I'm one of the fucking oldest. But yeah, I mean, I do believe in the principles. But of course, new stuff is coming all the time, new technology. Yeah, we're getting, same for athletes, they're getting faster, we're getting better. Yeah. But the core principles are still with the athletes, The core principles of training are still there. You can't break that mold too much. Same thing.
We've been talking more about the lifestyle element and overall sort of structure this place on improving your life. And obviously women's going to be, for a lot of guys, women's going to be one of the things that they want to improve their chances with.
I was terrible, so that was one of the things that I was so driven to do. Yeah. So driven to do. I do think actually it would have been better off for me and a lot quicker to be good at this if I'd have incorporated the lifestyle earlier on. But I did live life quite well anyway with the lifestyle, not being in mathematics, I didn't. I worked in the cinema for many years anyway. But I did that because I enjoyed films, so I worked in the cinema, I became a supervisor in cinema. How many girls came coming out of cinema a day? 3,000? Putney Cinema? Yeah. Like, that is awesome for me. Especially for the new 3 days I can invite us to cinema for free.
So on the side of it, where do guys go about trying to meet girls through other ways. You know, we've got the whole join sports clubs for, you know, make females.
Only join a sports club because you want to join it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. They will be there anyway. So it's a bonus.
Okay. So this avenue of pickup, as it were, I mean, it couldn't really be considered pickup in a way. It's more lifestyle.
No, it's lifestyle.
Yeah.
With major seduction elements.
Yeah.
You will get the essence, the core of it anyway, but then we start, once we give you that, give you a bit, and you know, start pushing the comfort zone anyway.
Yeah. Okay, we've covered a lot of stuff on just me and you chatting. Where do you think now, where do you think the most effective areas in let's say pickup, the most effective things at the tour really do actually change guys? We can cover fear and fear control, like
That is
a lot of
question.
a lot of things in life, you know, dominated by fear. A lot of stuff in our lives, most stuff is we stop us from doing stop by fear. What other things do you think?
That is it, the main life is number 10. That it can't be answered just like a few sentences back or even an hour back. It's personal. It's personal. Everyone is different. With me, I just needed to believe it was possible. And just by just believing it was obtainable, I could run with it. And boy did I run fast. But some people it might be just a tweaking of don't be scared to go for the kiss, it doesn't mean anything. Or it might be something to do with alright, how do I get rid of AA? And then once they're in set they can talk about it. Or you don't have to meet girls by being introduced to them. Or someone else is they just don't know how to invite a girl home, or another one is they don't know what to do in the middle, the fluff, the talk, the hooks. And we do, you know, everyone's it's personalised. So there's no like one key thing. Oh, you should do this. And when people go, you should do this, how the fuck do they know really, truly, 100% that they should be doing that? You can give advice. Maybe you should be trying this. Or this is a good feeling. That's why my best opener that has never failed me or my students. I still call it 99% opener, and yet I've seen it posted around in videos and people calling their own unbreakable opener. Trust me, it's not unbreakable. Everything can be broken, and that's why you have an opportunity as well to pick a light, because any girl can be broken. Nothing's 100%. Stop.
If it doesn't work, and the fear of it not working is what stops guys from approaching. What if this doesn't work for me? If this is 100%, it doesn't work for me, what does that say about me? I think that's what creates this fear.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. Why for them? It would work for them. Well, because you're actually thinking that it's not going to work for you. Because you've already given in. You've already been defeated. So the guy that's been in it 2 years but reads everything and is trying to get all the information because he thinks it's all going to add up and keep adding up and making him every little information is going to get 1% better, 1%. No, maybe it gets you -1. You can do this because you're overloading. You're overloading the senses. So what I think is it's good to have one idea and practice that for a while. Then move on to another and practice that for a while. We don't learn. Not that I know any of these, but you don't learn Java, coding, film editing, you know, I don't know, like all computer programs all at once. You don't try and learn them all at once, you learn one at a time. Like with Word, Excel, you don't try and learn them all at once. You learn one, you get competent at it, then you move on to another. Yeah? Do you know what I mean? We don't join all social networking sites and try and learn them at once. We join Facebook, we get competent in Facebook, then we join It's a Tour World, we get competent in It's a Tour World, and so on and so forth, LinkedIn, and we get MySpace. Get competent at one at a time and then just join them all. It'd be too much, wouldn't it? We don't want that.
Yeah.
You can train yourself. Have a few principles that you do not break until you get good. And then learn a little bit and go with it. And then when you think, oh, I've hit that hurdle, this is a hurdle I've hit, then learn about that hurdle and jump that. And then you'll hit another hurdle. And eventually, then you just, all you need to do is fine tune them hurdles, and you can fine tune them with your own ones. Yeah. That's all I did. What's that? And then fine tune, put mine in, works better because it's mine. Always works better for Sharon.
If you're following if you're simply doing one thing at a time, concentrating on what you're doing at that moment, and not putting future into it, not putting yourself into it, not being, I'm going to be unhappy if this doesn't work out, relying on outcome, then you'll create abundance in your life. You're actually opening a space in your life for things to come in. And it's the same with pickup. A lot of guys will go through the complete circle. It will almost be like a realization. You don't care anymore. I think I've been blown up by so many girls that eventually I got to a point where it just wasn't working. It just didn't work. I wasn't getting anything. And it took me a realization, that sort of realization, that I then didn't care. But that's when things flowed, and I was using the lines I learned. They were coming up, but I wasn't thinking about them. I don't go to the toilet, I used to go to the toilet and then read my affirmations or read my lines, my openers, or At first, it's good. Go out there, practice, crash and burn, beat in your head, do it. Eventually, you'll speak to a girl, and something will happen, and you'll be like, I didn't use any lines. I didn't neg her. I didn't break the core. I don't know, merge sets, and she just liked me. What can I say? The sad thing is, some guys don't get out of that, and they almost like the idea that they can control every situation. I think a lot of guys stay in that, and when you realise that you can't, there's so many different factors, so many situations that you won't be able to control. That's when you break away from that, when you let go of that, that's when you get what you want. Get what you think you want. But you don't really know what you want. You have everything you need already. You tell a guy, look, you ask someone because you need to know where Tesco's is in the middle of central London because you need to go to Tesco. You take them on a boot camp and you need to do it because they need to start speaking to people. It becomes harder because of the outcome. The future rejection is, okay, then what happens after that? What happens if they say no? Then what do I do? The scariest thing is that walk up. You see the beautiful girl, now let's walk up and here we go, what's going to happen? And it's the fear of the unknown, that's the scariest thing. But you forget about it, I can't really remember that. Bad rejections. I've had a lot, can't really remember any specific ones. I remember getting slapped in a bar in Chelsea, but I don't really care, I think it's funny now. And I just wanted to see what I could say and get away with it. I didn't deserve it, but it happened. You can't rely on the outcome. You can't rely on the factors out there. Everything's flux. It's so random. So many different factors. So many different situations. She could have been having such a bad day. You can't. There's nothing you can do to control that. Any more questions? I don't know where I was going with that.
Action.
Find out. Without sounding being too casual, because I'm not, and some might say what makes her tick? Yeah. So I just need to know what her rhythms are, and the thing is, she wants me to, because once I know that, I can pleasure her in many ways. We can hit that limit of rapport and connection and fun.
I mean, between all the theories and everything's road and everyone's got their own structure, their system, what do you think is the underlying system? They're linking
Underlay.
And they're all just relabeling it, giving it another name. What do you think it is? What essentially is it? Obviously, you're getting them to chase. I think there's a slight element of, how do you call it? Well, there's a
like you said, what I chase, but you give a little bit back.
Yeah.
There's an old saying, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. What is it you give them back, you might say? Well, what is it you give them back? You give them a hook to grab onto. Something that they can either, and this is the thing that separates the wheat from the chaff, either it can be a little compliment, or it can be something that sets you up for a fall. But by setting you up for a fall, she knows you've done it. She knows you've purposely done it. You've set yourself up to be negged. Yeah. It's all part of the game. Because you don't want to totally dominate her. Otherwise it's won and you've overpowered, you've demonstrated too much value. It's like, I can't do it. You give her a bit back. And you show that in that way you do actually care a bit. You don't want to fuck it up. But you're giving her something to pick on you by. Yeah? Okay. So you're giving her that little element to keep the game going. It's like if you're a lethal tennis player and you're acing and you're acing and you're acing, and it's someone that you want to see again, you want to play again, you can't just beat the shit out of them. They'll never want to play ever again. Why? What enjoyment would they get?
There's the net.
You give it a oops. Oh, I fell.
That's what I did, because I want to play you again, so I couldn't just keep on.
Right. I've never told that to anyone publicly. That you do give that opportunity to them to give you another hit. A neg hit.
It takes a lot of practice to know what that is. It's not something you can just write down and say to someone. It's hard.
You can and you can't. Giving them the opportunity. Who's still in control? You are.
You're letting them do it. Well, here we go.
And they know that deep inside.
Yeah.
And they'll always do that deep inside joke forever. So I love it.
Yeah.
The question is, why should it affect me? It should affect me because I have no answer for that. There is no reason why it should. There's many reasons why it shouldn't. It shouldn't because she doesn't know you. It shouldn't because it's not actually your fault, so it's not personal. This is a smooth domestic blend. I'm amused by its consumption. Someone always does something in private life that they think, oh, this is a bit off, if anyone knew about this. Right? Mine is just public. You can make yourself public with your wildness. Be wild. You know? I have a time check, so I've got to see a woman about a cat. You know what I mean?
Abundance mentality. What is this? What do you think it is?
It's a sweet smell. Abundance mentality. No, the abundance mentality.
Sweet smell.
Call it what you want. Harem, abundance mentality. Very famous. Same thing. But it all boils down to you have choice, and people want to be part of that choice. So they come in and they contend to be part of that choice. Social proof, I suppose, as well. But you know what? It's a lot deeper than social proof. You know in your mind when you're good, and you should don't believe it, you should fake it to make it. Because I always believed it when I wasn't getting laid like a rock star, or whatever terminology you want to use. I believed it, right? Because I knew one day it would happen, and I knew that. You've got to know that, you've got to believe that. I knew that if she's not in my bed, someone else will be. So, what do I care? You know? I'm the fun, I'm the passion, I'm the entertainment, I'm the one doing all the work. Hopefully she will contribute a bit on top. But, you know, who gets more orgasm? Not me. You know? Live in abundance. Have that abundance mentality.
It's like a matrix, you can actually
able to make it. It works.
We're getting this
People say it, but people don't do it. They go, oh, alright, I think so. But they don't do it. Do it. Live. Think in your mind, sit down for 10 minutes and just think in your mind that, oh, this girl wanted this, this girl wanted this, this girl wanted this. Think it as living, think it as much detail as you can, and your body will believe it's happening. you go there with a different mentality. Ever been on holiday and you come back and you're not, everyone's on holiday, they're more on a sexual vibe and everyone's having fun and you come back. You can have that here.
Yeah.
You're just on holiday.
It's in a different country, isn't it?
Ooh, a different country, makes a difference. People come here and do that. Foreigners come to London and do that. My friend from New York, he comes here, he goes, London's the easiest, best place to get women. Yeah? And we go to New York, we think, look,
Exactly,
New York's
yeah.
the easiest, best place to get women. There's no difference, you're just in the mindset.
Yeah.
And you have that, you keep that for a few days, don't you? You're like, on that few days when you get back, you're like, yeah, you're still in the holiday mode, it's fading out. You're still in holiday mode, aren't you? Yeah, I am.
When you leave your door, you're actually on holiday from your house. I see a lot of guys in their only source of women seems to be from a cold approach, which I don't think it's a healthy thing. That's the only way they, that's all they're doing.
No, it should be all you're doing. You should mix and match everything. When I started out, I cold approach like a motherfucker.
That's just a decent.
I think it's I just think it's a good way to get started.
Yeah.
Get out there. You don't know anyone as well.
Steve 2.
Steve 2. Yeah, have you met Steve 1? Have you met Steve stuff?
No.
He's a really good friend of mine. On that note, I need to go to see that woman about that feline. Hey, it's been good. It's been emotional. Changed me about.